You think you would never confess to a crime you did not commit? You are wrong. 29% of DNA exonerations in America involve false confessions. Not coerced confessions from guilty people, false confessions from innocent people, people who walked into police stations believing the truth would set them free and walked out having signed their own conviction. In 1989, 5 teenagers in New York City confessed to a brutal rape they did not commit. They served between 6 and 13 years in prison. The actual rapist was never in that interrogation room. But after 14 hours of psychological pressure, 4 of those boys said they did it, on camera, in detail. Here's the part that should terrify you. The techniques that produce those confessions are still legal. They are still taught, and they are being used right now in police stations across the country. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to survive a police interrogation, legally, and why the phrase "most likely to save your life" is only 14 words long. Welcome to the Interrogation Files, where power, psychology, and control are decoded, and you learn what they do not want you to know. Here's what I'm going to break down for you. First, I will show you the exact psychological techniques police use to extract confessions, and why they work on innocent people even better than guilty ones. Second, I will walk you through 3 real cases where these techniques destroyed innocent lives. And third, I will give you the specific phrases and tactics that criminal defense attorneys universally recommend. By the end, you will understand why talking to police, even when you're completely innocent, is almost always a mistake. Let us start with a counterintuitive truth. Your innocence makes you more vulnerable, not less. Psychologist Saul Kassin at John Jay College of Criminal Justice has spent 40 years studying false confessions. He discovered something that changed how researchers understand interrogation. He calls it the phenomenology of innocence. When innocent people are accused of crimes, they believe the truth will come out. They think their innocence is obvious, so they waive their Miranda rights at higher rates than guilty suspects. They agree to talk without lawyers present. They think cooperation will clear things up faster. This is exactly what interrogators are counting on. The Fifth Amendment protects you against compelled self-incrimination. The landmark 1966 case Miranda versus Arizona established that police must warn you of your rights before custodial interrogation. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed. But here's what Miranda does not tell you. In 2010, the Supreme Court ruled in Berghaus versus Tompkins that simply remaining silent does not invoke your Fifth Amendment rights. You have to say it out loud, clearly and unambiguously. And in 2013, Salinas versus Texas went further. Your silence before you are in custody can actually be used against you as evidence of guilt if you do not explicitly invoke the Fifth Amendment. Read that again. You have to speak to invoke your right to remain silent. Justice Sotomayor called this counterintuitive. Defense attorneys call it a trap. Approximately 24 states have stop and identify laws requiring you to provide your name during lawful detention. Drivers in all 50 states must show license, registration, and insurance during traffic stops. But beyond identification, you have no obligation to answer questions. The problem is, most people do not know where that line is, and interrogators are trained to blur it. Now let me show you how they do it. The Reid technique is the dominant interrogation method in American law enforcement. Over 500,000 police officers have been trained in it since 1974. It operates through 9 sequential steps designed to overcome psychological resistance. And it is devastatingly effective. Step 1 is positive confrontation. The interrogator states your guilt as absolute fact. Not, did you do it? We know you did it. No question. No opening for denial. This triggers what psychologists call certainty bias. When someone speaks with total confidence, your brain automatically assigns higher credibility even when the statement is completely false. Step 2 is theme development. This is the longest phase. The interrogator offers you moral justifications and face-saving narratives. Anyone in your situation might have done the same thing. It was an accident, right? You did not mean for it to happen. They are building you a psychological exit ramp, one that leads directly to confession. Step 3 is handling denials. When you try to say you did not do it, the interrogator interrupts, discourages, moves past it. Why? Because research shows that once a suspect successfully denies guilt multiple times, it becomes psychologically harder to reverse course and confess. They need to shut down your denials before they take root. Steps 4 through 6 create emotional exhaustion. The interrogator moves closer physically, peak sincerity in their voice. They watch for signs of surrender, passive body language, breaking eye contact, slumped shoulders. Then comes step 7, the alternative question. This is the trap. The interrogator presents 2 explanations for the crime. One sounds terrible. One sounds almost understandable. Did you plan this in advance, or did it just happen in the heat of the moment? Was this about money, or were you just trying to protect your family? Here is the mechanism. Either answer is an admission of guilt. The suspect thinks they are choosing the lesser evil. They are actually confessing. Researchers call the broader strategy minimization and maximization. These are the carrots and sticks of interrogation. Minimization downplays the severity of what happened. The interrogator offers sympathy, moral justifications, face-saving excuses. I understand why you did it. Anyone would have snapped in that situation. This was not really your fault. Research by Cassin and McNall found that minimization tactics communicate implicit promises of leniency, even when interrogators never explicitly promise anything. Suspects here, if I just admit to the lesser version, things will go easier for me. The interrogator never said that, but the suspect believed it. Maximization is the opposite, exaggerating evidence strength, emphasizing maximum sentences, creating a sense of hopelessness. We have everything we need to convict you. You're looking at life in prison. The only question is whether you want to help yourself. The combination is psychologically devastating. Maximization closes off escape routes. Minimization offers the only exit, confession. But the Reed technique has another weapon, one the Supreme Court has explicitly approved. Police are legally allowed to lie to you during interrogation. In 1969, Frazier versus Cupp established that deception, while relevant, is not sufficient alone to make a confession inadmissible. So interrogators can claim they have your fingerprints when they do not. They can say witnesses identified you when no one did. They can tell you that you failed a polygraph that you actually passed. A meta-analysis in Campbell's systematic reviews found that accusatorial evidence ploys, meaning false claims about evidence, resulted in nearly 3 times more false confessions than direct questioning. Richard Leo, one of the leading interrogation researchers in the country, put it simply, I cannot think of a single false confession case that did not involve lies about evidence. Now add environmental manipulation. Interrogation rooms are designed to maximize discomfort. Small spaces, approximately 8 by 10 feet, soundproofed, bare walls, uncomfortable chairs. Positioned away from light switches and thermostats, the suspect faces one-way mirrors or cameras. Every element communicates the same message. You have no control here. Timing matters too. Most interrogations last under 2 hours. But in an analysis of 125 proven false confessions, researchers Stephen Drizin and Richard Leo found that 84% came from sessions exceeding 6 hours. The average duration? 16.3 hours. Sleep deprivation, hunger, isolation. The get me out of here. Sensation builds until confession feels like the only escape. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in real cases. April 19th, 1989. Central Park, New York City. Investment banker Tricia Maley is brutally attacked while jogging. Within 48 hours, police bring in 5 Black and Latino teenagers. Antron McCrae, 15 years old. Kevin Richardson, 14. Yusuf Salam, 15. Raymond Santana, 14. Corey Wise, 16. The interrogations lasted up to 14 hours. The boys were questioned without adequate adult representation. Some were told they could go home if they just admitted involvement. Others were told their friends had already implicated them, a lie. 4 of them gave videotaped confessions. Watch the tapes carefully. You can see the Reed technique in action. Positive confrontation, we know you were there. Theme development, maybe you did not mean to hurt her. Maybe you just got caught up in what the others were doing. The alternative question, were you the one who held her down, or were you just watching? 14 and 15-year-old boys, exhausted, scared, isolated from their parents, facing adult interrogators who told them confession was the only way home. Here is what should have raised immediate red flags. The confessions were mutually inconsistent, differing on time, location, and descriptions of the attack. They contained factual errors about the victim's clothing and injuries. No physical evidence connected any of the 5 to the crime. DNA evidence excluded all of them. They were convicted anyway. They served between 6 and 13 years in prison. In 2002, serial rapist Matias Reyes confessed. His DNA matched exclusively. All 5 convictions were vacated. In 2014, New York City paid a $41 million settlement. Yusuf Salam later described what happened. When we were arrested, the police deprived us of food, drink, or sleep for more than 24 hours. Under duress, we falsely confessed. Though we were innocent, we spent our formative years in prison, branded as rapists. Now consider Brendan Dassey, featured in the documentary Making a Murderer. Dassey was 16 years old with an IQ between 69 and 73, borderline intellectual disability. He was interrogated without a parent or attorney present. The investigators used classic Reed technique tactics, implied promises that it would be okay, false evidence claims, deceptive rapport building, extensive leading questions. No physical evidence corroborated his confession. A federal magistrate ruled the confession was coerced. The Seventh Circuit reversed. Brendan Dassey remains in prison today. The research on vulnerable populations is damning. 42% of juvenile exonerees gave false confessions, compared to only 13% of adults. Juveniles are 2 to 3 times more likely to falsely confess. Their prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for decision-making and impulse control, is not fully developed. They prioritize immediate escape over future consequences. They are taught to defer to adults. They trust authority figures. Intellectually disabled individuals are approximately 3 times more likely to falsely confess than the general population. These are not edge cases. This is systemic. So what do you actually do? Every criminal defense attorney in America gives the same advice. Professor James Duane of Regent University School of Law cites Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson. Any lawyer worth his salt will tell the suspect in no uncertain terms to make no statement to the police under any circumstances. Why? Because the phrase, "anything you say can and will be used against you," is precisely literal. Statements can only be used against you, never for you. Helpful statements will not be reported. Memory errors and inconsistencies, inevitable when you are stressed, become evidence of deception. Here are the phrases you need to memorize. Am I free to go? This establishes whether you are being detained. I'm invoking my right to remain silent. Say it clearly. Ambiguous statements do not count. I want a lawyer. After you invoke your right to counsel under Edwards versus Arizona, all questioning must stop until an attorney is present. I will not answer any questions without my attorney present. Then stop talking completely. Never answer just a few questions to clear things up. Never make small talk. It can slip into case discussion. Never explain, justify, or provide alibis without counsel. Recognize the warning signs. Police saying they just want to hear your side. Claims that cooperation will help you. Assertions about evidence against you. Requests to come to the station voluntarily. Questions shifting from general to crime specific. If you feel confused, pressured, tired, or hungry, you are already at risk. Here's the psychology you need to understand. Interrogators are trained to make silence feel uncomfortable. They will stare at you. They will let pauses stretch until the urge to fill them becomes overwhelming. They will act disappointed, confused, even hurt by your refusal to talk. This is deliberate. FBI research shows that when interrogators talk less, suspects reveal more. Your job is to tolerate the discomfort. Controlled breathing helps. Inhale for 4 counts. Exhale for 8. This physiologically slows your heart rate and reduces anxiety. Remind yourself of one fact. Invoking your rights is not evidence of guilt. It is the Constitution working exactly as designed. Every year, thousands of innocent people are exonerated after wrongful convictions. The single factor that distinguishes many of them? They talked. The single most important thing any person, guilty or innocent, can do during police interrogation is invoke their rights clearly and then stop talking entirely. Not because silence proves guilt, but because speech, even truthful speech, creates risk with no corresponding benefit. Saul Casson spent his career trying to understand why innocent people confess. His warning is simple. Do not take your innocence for granted. The interrogation room is designed to make you talk. The techniques are refined to break your resistance. The law allows deception that would be illegal in any other context. And your belief that the truth will protect you is exactly what makes you vulnerable. 14 words. I'm invoking my right to remain silent, and I want a lawyer. That is not obstruction. That is not consciousness of guilt. That is the Constitution working exactly as intended. The best interrogators do not break people. They let people break themselves. Now you know how they do it. The question is, have they already done it to you? If this changed how you see conversations, subscribe. Every interrogation follows a playbook. I will decode them all.